Wow, what a big box this is for this little kit, but I guess they save money by using one box for everything. So let's get inside, and we're going to do a quick review because I'm going to be doing a build on it. And we've got the instructions sheet. It's always really good with Hobby Boss. Lots of detail. Man, it's got a really good detailed interior. I don't know if I'm going to do the interior since it's going to be closed up. I'd rather put all the effort on the outside and whatever I'm going to be doing figure-wise, base, I don't know yet. Color, really nice color sheet for reference, markings, and really nice decals. I'd already opened this box to check it out and make it quicker for the review. Decals look good. You put whatever numbers you want, which sometimes that's not fun, but we'll figure it out. I got other decals too I could add. And then got the body parts, very nicely molded. Looks excellent. Looks a lot better than the old Tamiya 222 kit. And I guess the 221 is it? And anyway, and then we've got rubber tires, and we've got some headlights, and then just a few screws here, which all look very clean. I've already looked at them. I mean, zero flash, like zero. I mean, the parts are beautiful. I'm really starting to like these Hobby Boss kits. Really close to Tamiya, for sure. So I'm looking forward to building this. I haven't ever built this kit. I've built the Tamiya ones, each one a few times. So look at that, look at the details, just very nice detail. And last sprue here, some hubcap wheels, suspension parts, stuff like that. Can't wait to dig into that. And we've got not decals. We have photo etched for, that would be for this kit for the 223, which I'm going to do something different here. I did a review, and I did a review showing the upper basket for the 260 and 261 version, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I did a review on this kit from FC Model Trend, so check it out. But that's what's going to happen to this guy, and I'm going to really enjoy this one. Okay, here we go so far. The suspension is definitely, I usually put Hobby Boss in pretty high standards up there with Tamiya, but man, this was a bear to put together. So make sure each piece is, you know, your glue is set up so that way you don't have any problems putting these on, especially right here on the springs. They're a real pain. Second problem, I found a big problem on working on this right here, which is this. They say B53 and B53 on both sides so it can sit on this. Well, we have one B53 right there, and that's the part, but you need two. So I looked even on the parts layout, and on the parts layout for B, there's only one 53 right there. 52, 53, and 54. And I cannot find a 53 anywhere else on the parts layout or on the tree. So I'm gonna have to fudge something on that unless it shows up miraculously. So these are kind of things that happen sometimes, but you gotta be prepared to compromise and use a little bit of maybe scratch building. Just I'm gonna have to put a piece of plastic there to hold it onto the frame. So start doing that. All right, I'm kind of disillusioned with this kit. After looking at my research and going through, because I was going to detail the interior somewhat, at least put it all together and paint it. There's no radio. Yeah, no radio, and this is a radio vehicle. There's no radio in any of the sprues. There's no radio to be put into the interiors, and I can't find any really good reference online that shows where the radios were, except for maybe they were on either side of the walls here. There was one radio here with maybe seats here, but that's not for sure. And I'm not going to buy any books on it because I can't really. I think there's a nuts and bolts book on it, but that's it. I'm not doing that. So what I'm going to do, this piece here, I'm going to make use this as a template, this photo etch piece, to use some styrene just to fill this in here to make the opening for the grenade screens, and I'm gonna have those open. So I'm just gonna build the kit now, finish it up, do the conversion, and paint it, and go from there. So I'm just trying to decide now whether to do it North Africa or European. So I'm still deciding. There's photo etch parts for this. I couldn't get them to fit right, so I just put sheet styrene for right here. And as I said, the suspension, I got a little bit of play because there's just too much parts in the suspension. I really like the way the Tamiya goes together. It's simple, but man, the Tamiya one, just falls together as usual. But it's older and not quite as detailed as this one. So I'm gonna finish this up and we'll keep moving. All right, the kit's built. What a kind of a letdown when you see it's the kit is a Sdkfz 223, which is a radio car, and there's no radio included in the kit. So I guess they didn't have enough reference either to see where the radios went. It's really strange. So I'm glad I'm making it 260. So there's the conversion on top, and I'm just trying to figure out if I want both doors on top of the grenade screens to be open, or one closed and one open. So I gotta see. But it's time to put a primer on this thing and see what I'm gonna do for the rest of it. The interior needs to be painted white. I'm gonna do that before I glue these guys on. And I might just use Tamiya surface primer. And I'm not a big fan of photo etch, so I ended up making these out of sheet plastic. And all this is the conversion here that I did for that on the back. Came out actually better than I thought. I've got a little sanding to do here because I'm not using the radio antenna, obviously. So I filled it with putty, and I've just got to sand these once they're dry, a couple places here and there, and that's it. So the next step will be, let's give this a primer coat to tires. I like these tires because I can really weather them cool, and I'm kind of thinking about North Africa now for this one, so we'll see. I got a figure that I might put on here, maybe two figures. It might end up in a diorama one day. We'll see. All right, so what I did first, I'm gonna actually do this whole build without an airbrush. And the first thing I used was, from the bottom, I sprayed TS1 red brown Tamiya. And then after that, I sprayed TS3 dark yellow just over the top. And then I sprayed TS7 racing white just from the very top down. And it gave it a interesting, I guess, dot pattern, which I've seen some airplane modelers and other ones actually do this. Put like sometimes they'll put like a screen over and spray over just to give it some pattern that's faintly seen. So then they spray over that. So what I'm going to do is weather over that now. And what I've got now is the decals put on. I just got the decals from my spare parts box and put those on with microsol. And then I sprayed over the top with Tester's flat, matte flat finish in the can. So now what I'm gonna do is do a wash over it. I actually mixed burnt umber and another color here, I'm not sure what it is, and here's turpenoid. I would tell you the colors, but the the wrappers came off. So it's a little bit lighter brown color. I'm gonna kind of mix these two together for the wash for this Africa Core vehicle. So let's get at it. So I just put the clear lenses that came with the kit with Tester's crystal clear painted silver behind them. And then I just made up the figures, 3 figures from pieces from my spare parts box. Arms from different figures, torsos, things like that. And I wanted that standing figure to look like the one in the photo where he's holding the maps. So I got maps that I just printed on the internet and sized them up to fit under his arm there. His scarf is just Magic Sculpt, and as I said, he's pieces from all kinds of other kits. And this guy came from the Zevna truck kit, and I repositioned his arms, and he's got a Tamiya head. Now for the chipping, I just mixed black and white artist oil together, and I got a sponge, and I have these sponges. I just keep breaking pieces off and then hook it into a forceps and just start dabbing in the areas that you know are going to get the most wear, corners, edges, places that stand out. Those are always the places where you're going to put scratches. This effect works really well because artist oil paint stays wet for a long time, doesn't dry fast, so it works great. And then you can see the results. Comes out really nice, good chip effect, worn all around the vehicle. Painted the shovel just with acrylic paints right on the vehicle. If you can see it, you can paint it. And then I did the old Magic Sculpt tarp bed rolls cloth thing, and I mixed, once again, I did this on the Stuart Honey build, but this time I mixed German uniform, a couple of drops of German uniform acrylic paint in with the putty while I was kneading it, and it just turned it into a perfectly matte color of the German uniform. I was just gonna put this on and then highlight and shadow it with acrylics, but I ended up painting it a different color. I didn't really like it, but you probably could just start using your acrylics to do a highlight and a shadow right on this without even having to paint it. It looks like a painted piece. So this might help a lot of people in adding it like this and then just highlighting and painting, or other techniques you might want to use it for with the putty already this color. So it works out really, really well, and I'm gonna probably do this from now on just to put some color in there so it's not white.
Then I went to this craft store and I looked for a base. Picked out something, and I picked out a few. They were on sale, and I used this particular one for this build. And then I just got some plastic out and some foam and made the rest of the base so I could raise it and so it fit around the glass acrylic piece that goes around it. I had some barrels in my spare box, so I used those, made a sign up with plastic, used Magic Sculpt to fill it in, textured it, and then I was just looking on the internet at some signs that you can get available, just going through images, and I just printed some out, and I have a few that I went to pick from. Here's a layout that I made just to see where everything is going to fit. You always want to be checking your fits and your layout and do it ahead of time. And then I just scored where the vehicle road was. Next, I'm going to use the Magic Sculpt to fill in all the areas for the groundwork. Magic Sculpt to me is the best material for groundwork in smaller areas. I mean, you couldn't do this in a huge diorama. I mean, I guess you could a little at a time. But using my toothbrush, just texturing it and getting some crushed up brick that I just crushed up with a hammer, and then some fine gravel pushed into the Magic Sculpt, and then I pushed the barrels in to get that sign exactly where I wanted it. Put some more gravel in between the rocks and just started detailing it out to where I wanted it to look. Oh, an old Panzer IV track to make the indentions into the road, pushed in the vehicle where I wanted it, added some more of its tires, and there it was. I have these plants that it's like a moss thing that grows on the side of my palm trees in front of my house, and they just stay stiff like that, and you can paint them, and it worked out perfect for a scrubby desert looking plant. I really like it, and I used it on the 247 armored car. And then once again, I just did the same exact thing for the vehicle. I sprayed the base black and the edges, and then I used the red brown, and then I used the dark yellow, just sprayed from the top, let it mist on there, not a heavy coat, and then the lighter color right over the same colors I used for the vehicle. This just ties it all in to the scene. And then it was time to do a wash. I went with the lighter colored artist oil and mixed it up and just started doing the wash. Put it over the whole base. Every place I could get it, I put it. This wash, I didn't want it really dark since it was desert. I normally would use a burnt umber for Europe, but this one I wanted the lighter color and to keep it from getting too dark. And then I used pastels. I just sanded them into little powders, and then I used turpenoid and put them into a little dish like this and mixed up the turpenoid into them until they just made like a filter. And then I painted all the scenery, like the rocks and a little bit of gravel and places like that. And then the rust color was used for the technique to make the rust on the barrels, and it worked out really, really well. I've done this before. It's an easy way to paint without it being thick, and it fills in the cracks, and you don't have to worry too much about mess up. And then with some more pastel powder and turpenoid, I used a diluted mixture, and I started putting it around, and it started filling in areas I wanted lighter. It's like a wash, and it's a wash and a filter in itself. And I also put it onto the vehicle's top, where dust has accumulated on top of the vehicle and is settled on and stuck on there. And this helps tie everything into the groundwork as well. Gives it a really good effect, and it looks like it's supposed to be there. And then after that, went ahead and put the same mixture into the tires. I wanted it to flow into the cracks, into the tread in between, to look like the sand that's accumulated there. And this works out really well. You have to use a very, very diluted mixture of this. If you go too heavy, it'll ruin it. So start off really light with your application, and then you can always add more later on over it if you don't think it's a lot, because when it dries, it doesn't look quite like it does while it's wet. It comes out really dark if you have put too much. So it's something you want to practice with. And then I just wipe it off and to make sure that everything's in the cracks. The figures, I started painting them in acrylics, and then I said nope, I didn't like the way the acrylics looked, and it worked out okay because you can paint oils over the acrylics. So I just did not like the effect that the acrylics gave to the face. It was really rough, and I was like, no, I want this to stand out and look better. So I used oil paints so I could shade and highlight really well. It was a lot easier for the skin tones for sure. And then I just started back onto the bed rolls. I wanted to paint those in oil to give them more of a contrast. And then I could also add pastels into the tires, the dry pastels, to give it even more effect after the wet. And here's the final diorama. I'm taking the glass case off of it. I really enjoyed using these bases. I think they're really cool, and for the protection, it's really nice. I wanted to show that, especially to the new people in the hobby, you can actually do something pretty cool without an airbrush, just using cans of spray and artist oils, pastels, and acrylic paints. I hope this helps, and I hope people try it out, and I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks again for watching, and please ask any questions. I'd love to answer what I do. So stay tuned for more of my videos, and thank you.